Hello again. This is Marie here for the distance learning assignment. This time I'm going to be looking at the CamStudio software. This is great software for a beginner that wants to start doing some screenshotting to create some online content like for YouTube, video blogs, maybe some distance learning activities. It's a great little program. It's free. It's open sourced. Like Spectre had talked about, it probably has a Creative Commons license or something of that nature. And that it's for a beginner, it's good because then you don't have to have a large investment up front. When you get more advanced, you could still use this program, or you could opt to get one of the pay programs that have even more features that you can add to it. In this, I mentioned my headset, so this is the headset I used when I was making this video. So I hope you enjoy my tutorial on CamStudio. See you in a minute.
So this is CamStudio. This is a free open source program that can be utilized if you want to create content for YouTube, if you want to do some video blogging, if you want to create some online learning activities. It's good for the beginner because there's not a great deal of functions, options, settings, or tools if you're a beginner, although there are these extra little features here if you're an intermediate or advanced user. There's several videos online that span from beginner to advanced, and they'll show you how to use some of these extra features if you are an advanced user. I'm just a beginner, so I will just cover some of these basic features to help someone else who's a beginner get started with this area if you want to get screenshots to create video content. There's a couple of things here you might want to keep an eye on is your current video size. If it gets too large, sometimes it has a difficult time handling the audio and the video. This is something I've had to play with to see, what my computer could handle. Some computers can handle more, some can handle less. So you'll just have to practice with this to see how much your computer can handle. There's a couple other features like time elapsed, start recording, and then some of these other features as you become an intermediate or advanced user, this will you'll be able to utilize this more effectively. Then there's these few items across the top. Under File, you just have Record, Pause, Stop, and Exit, which is also listed here. You have Record, Pause, and Stop. So the next thing we're going to look at here is Region. You have four choices here. You have this region where you can like click over on a corner and then hold your button and drag it across and select a certain area. I don't want to do that now because I'm afraid to mess up my screenshot here. Then you have, let's look at Fixed Region. Fixed Region is where you key in some numbers and try that. Then you just click OK, and that would just do like a particular square size that you pick, and you can place it where you want it. Then I'm using the window where when I hit Start Record here, Start Recording, let me get that off there. I click Start Recording, then it says choose your window. So you could have like here's a window and here's a window. So I chose this window, which was larger, and then I just grabbed my CamStudio and put it in it. But if you're doing some video blogging or such, you would want to drag this out of the way so you could still keep an eye on what's going on here, like your file size. But it wouldn't be in the shot. But for this purpose of this video, I want it in the shot. Sometimes when if you minimize this, you'll expect it to go down here, which you can see it's right there. But on occasion, it won't be there. I found this out looking at some tutorials that I'd mentioned earlier. It will be in your task tray. You can see it right there. So if it kind of disappears on you, don't get scared. It's right there. It scared me the first time when I didn't know where it went. And then, of course, you have full screen. Some people like full screen because then they want everything down here showing, everything on their entire screen showing, more than what's in my little window here. So we'll move on from region. So the next element here we're going to look at is options. As for the rest of these settings, options, tools, effects, view, I pretty much just stayed with the default settings as a beginner. Like I said earlier, you could find tutorials that show you how to create better videos using more of these features. But I just stayed with the default since I am a beginner and I'm just now learning to use it myself. There's a couple things here I would like to look at. Here's a cursor. You can actually have a little fun with the cursor. You can choose to hide it or to show it. You can create a custom cursor. You could have a cursor on file you want to utilize. You can use a highlighter, which I'm doing. You can choose the shape, circle, ellipse, square, rectangle. I chose the circle. You can even pick the color. The color default was already yellow. I just made it a little lighter. I didn't want it to stand out quite as much. Also, I shrunk the size. It was like right here in the middle. And it was really big. When I put it over something, it like totally enveloped it. And so I made it a little smaller because I want you to be able to see as I move over some of these dialog boxes. So you can see the words that are there as I'm going over them. So here's another thing you can enable, the left click and right click button, and you can actually make them different colors. So if you want to denote something in a particular way, that might be useful for you. And then you just click OK when you find what you'd like to do. Another thing I wanted to look at in the options is audio. So I wanted recording with it, so I picked microphone. That disappeared on me. Let me bring that back up. There we go. Okay, so this right here, the Turtle Beach, this was not a choice on here originally. And this is my headset. So I had to install it. I just plugged it into my laptop. And once I plugged it in and opened this up, it automatically started configuring it. I didn't have to tell it to do anything, which was wonderful for a beginner. And then it showed up. And then all I had to do was click on it. And so now I'm using my headset. There's some other features here. If you watch a more advanced tutorial, it'll show you how to use all of these. But then once you click your headset or your microphone, just click OK, like I did. Another option I want to look at real quick is some of these down here. I just left these basically the way they were in the default. I chose to ask for a file name because I like to create my own names. It's easier for me to find later, but you could let it automatically pick a time or date. Some people like that. That's your choice. When the recording stops, it's wonderful because it will create your file and it will show you a sample so you can view it and see if that's what you want. So there's one more thing I wanted to look at in options. And the only reason why I'm showing you this is because the tutorials I found, this is already checked under default. And the tutorials I found suggested to de-check it because it deletes your AVI file upon completion. And the tutorial suggested that you may not want to delete those because you may want to have access to them later. So I just followed the suggestion of the tutorial and deselected it. You could just leave it the way it is if you're a beginner and you just don't want to make too many changes while you're learning how to use it. That's fine. And then under languages, it only gave me 2 choices. Let me move this over a little bit because I think it's outside of my recording window here. There you go, English and German. And like I said, the rest of these features I'll save for an advanced tutorial because some of them can get a little complicated. You might have to watch the tutorial more than once to grasp the effectiveness of them. Under help, I did go to CamStudio's their questions, and it was helpful. I did find some things, like at first I was having trouble getting my audio and videos to compress and create the sample. When I was doing my testing, it was great, and to make sure the sound was working and all that, no problem. But then when I started recording, I started having problems. So one of the fact questions said, this is where I found out, if your file size is too large for your computer, you might have issues. It could crash, or you might be missing the sound or the picture, and I experienced all of those. So, which you might be able to tell, as I go through each of these, I hit stop recording, and then I went through an editing program to put them all back together. So there's only one more feature here that on CamStudio that I think might be beneficial to a beginner, and that's this little box right here. And all this does is, you can see when I click it, it just makes this dialog box smaller. That's all it does. These other features here, I use the default record to AVI, which shows here before you start recording in this area. Once you start recording, it disappears. This is a different type recording, SWF. That's for more advanced users that can convert files and that sort of thing. So that's it for CamStudio. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. Thank you for watching.
So that's it for the CamStudio tutorial for beginners. I hope you enjoyed my little tutorial here, and I have included a link for the more advanced tutorial in my credits. Goodbye!